Hi everyone, welcome again to Easy Tender. In this video, we'll be showing you how to input the beam details into Easy Tender and get the concrete and steel reinforcement outputs for the same. Once again, to start with inputting the beam details, you need to use the Civil Wizard, and under Civil Wizard you have Substructure and Superstructure. So we'll choose the Superstructure Concrete Wizard, and under Item Selection, you click on the drop-down arrow over here and you select Beams. Once you do that, for the shape selection you only have one option, which is the drop beam attached to slab. Please click on that. And now we'll be getting the quantity takeoff or data entry screen that you'll need to input the beam details into this screen, so that you get the concrete and steel reinforcement outputs. Just to give you a brief idea on what is included in this screen, you have here the reference location, just like how we discussed in previous videos. This is where you need to select the project you'll be working on and the levels that you'll be working on for the same. So we'll be working on our project, which is called the project, and you need to select the floors under levels. So if you click the drop-down arrow over here, you need to start choosing which floor you want to work on as a start. So if you want to start at the ground floor, you can choose that. As an example, we'll be having Beams Access Location. Beams Access Location, it means how many beams you want to include in this side of the screen that you need to input the outputs or the data entry for it. So if I click on 1, it means I have one axis here, of which I need to input the number of spans, the number of beams, and in turn I need to include all these concrete dimensions and steel reinforcement parameters. So you can add as many as you want from this side over here, or by right-clicking in this side of the screen and add row. Moreover, you have the default editable data. In case you have similar stirrups diameters and steel covers and the stirrup spacement near supports that are equivalent to all of the beam axes or the beam dimensions, so you can input the default data over there. So if we start here with an example, we have this drawing over here, the beam schedule, and it's applied for typical floors from the 1st to 4th floor. We can take beam 1 as an example, of which we need to input the size or the beam dimensions, and we need to input the bottom reinforcement and top reinforcement and stirrups. Okay, so let's input the dimensions of the beam 1 first. So here we can name the axis as B1, as it is there in the beam schedule. The number of span, according to my drawing, it's only one span, and the number of beam is 1. So next, I need to input the concrete dimensions. First, we need to input the support data, and then the span data. The support data, you need to input the width of the support that the beam is lying on. So, for instance, it's 0.3. on this side and 0.3 of the other support according to your drawing. And then we have the span data. You need to include the length L in meters of the span of this beam. So we can assume it's 3 meters. And then the section dimensions of the beam, the width and the height. In our case, it's 0.2 and 0.6 as per the beam schedule. That's it for this section. And the last thing that you need to input is the steel reinforcement parameters, the bottom reinforcement, top reinforcement, side bars, and stirrups. So, BS1 straight continuous. This is the main bar, the main steel bar for the beams. BS2, it means anything additional. So any extra bottom steel you can input in this side under BS2. So back to our beam schedule. Under bottom reinforcement, we have the left, midspan, and right. The main continuous steel dimensions is T16, 2 numbers. So we need to input 16 dia and 2 numbers as the main, and the additional we have is T12, 2 numbers. So in EasyTender, you need to input 16 dia. If you do or click on the drop down arrow over here, you have all the different kinds of steel diameter. N means the number. How many number of bars under this dia? So in our case, we have 2. BS2, as we said just a while ago, that it is any additional steel. In our case, it's 12 dia, 2 numbers. So I can click the drop down arrow here, choose 12 dia, and N as the number of bars, 2. Now, for the top reinforcement, we have TS1, the edge span, TS2, which is the midspan, and TS3 is anything additional. So, for TS1, back to the beam schedule. We have the left, midspan, and right. So, the one that is continuous here, as it's showing in the beam schedule, is T10, 2 numbers. So 10 diameter and 2 number of bars. And whatever is additional here is T16, 2 numbers. So we'll be placing here T10 as the main, 2 numbers, and here the extra as is showing in the schedule, 16, 2 numbers. So you click here 16 and you type 2 numbers. Now for the sidebars, again if you click the drop down arrow over here, you have all the different steel diameters. In our case, it is 12 dia at 0.2 spacing. So this is the spacing of the sidebars. Next is the stirrups. You need to input the dia at the mid and at the support spacing. So, according to our stirrup beam schedule, we have T8 as 0.15 spacing, and for the mid span, T8 as 0.2 spacing. You need to input here 8, so 0.2 as it is here and 0.15 at the supports. Now once you're done, you can either click on Insert and select New Location, or Insert and Finish if you want to display the outputs for this floor. Now if you have typical floors and you wish to copy all the beam inputs that you have done here, you can do so by right-clicking on the beam itself here. For B1, you have 4 or more than 4 options. So the last option over here again is Save in Location. So once you click on that, you have the chance to select which floor you want to copy these details to. So for example, I'm working on ground floor and I have 3 typical floors for the ground, floor 1 and floor 2. So you can select floor 1 and floor 2 and then click on Save Data. So once you're done, you can either select, as we said, Insert and select New Location, or Insert and Finish to calculate everything up to ground floor. So please be careful if you wish to choose or to display the values for the other floors, floor 1 and floor 2 for example, you need to click on Insert and select New Location. So now we're in floor 1, and as we just said a while ago, all the inputs that we have done in ground floor, they're now displayed in floor 1. And if I click on Insert and select New Location, automatically EasyTender will take you from the first floor to the second floor. So if I click this once again, okay, Now we're in floor 2. And because we have copied the details from ground floor to floor 1 and floor 2, all the inputs here are displayed without me repeating the steps again and again for each floor. So, since we're done from here, then I can click on Insert and Finish. So, click on Insert and Finish, and then click on Yes. Data insertion finished. OK. It will take me for the third and final screen for displaying the outputs for the concrete and steel parameters. So here, please notice the part and the level. This is our project and it's displaying the results for floor 2. So for floor 2, the concrete for drop beams attached to slab is here. So this is showing you the beam on axis B1 that we have named, and the deduction slab connection with beam on axis B1, and the deduction of the column portion on beam axis B1. So this is the screen, just like how we showed you earlier. This is where it shows you the full equation parameters and how EasyTender has calculated the concrete for you. So volume of rectangular solid, if you click on this, as we mentioned earlier, it shows you the dimensions and the shape of the beam that we have calculated for you. And in case, again, if you have different shapes, you can select on equations and shapes, and it will show you the volume equations and shapes for different regular and irregular shapes. So you can select manually any volume that you wish to calculate of a different shape from the default that the software has calculated, and you input the dimensions manually again. So this is the total concrete required, the volume of concrete required for our beam B1. And in case you want to display the steel reinforcement, you click on Steel Reinforcement Calculations over here. But before we go into that, I'd like to show you if you wish to display floor 1 results and ground floor results. Since they're typical, we have the same concrete outputs. Now, to go to reinforcement calculations, whatever level you choose here, you'll be displaying the steel reinforcement towards that floor. So if I click on that, it will take me again to the steel reinforcement screen. So here we have the item breakdown parameters. Beam on axis B1, you have the ratio towards that, 115.15. And here below you have the reinforcement schedule. Here it shows you all the straight and bent bars details at the edge, midspan for side bars and stirrups. And as we said earlier, you can change the shape of the bars when you click on L over here. So this is the shape, the default shape, let me say, for the steel bar that EasyTender has chosen for you. And it has calculated the number of bars with these dimensions mentioned here. Again, if you wish to change the shape of the bars, you can simply click on Equations and Shapes, and it will display for you the different types of steel bar shapes, of which you can choose from and input the dimensions manually one more. So this is here it displaying the weight of the steel in kilograms per item and the steel ratio for this breakdown as a whole. Here you can choose the different floors you wish to display the results for, as we said. So here we're displaying the ground floor. If you go to floor 1, again it's the same because we have typical floors, and floor 2, again it's the same. So these are the outputs for the beam on ground floor, floor 1 and floor 2. You can go back to the main screen and display these results in the report in BOQ format, just like how we did in the slab video. So back to main screen, and we can go ahead and display the reports towards the beam. So once you click on report and custom location done by EasyTender, if you click on that, again you need to choose the floors that you wish to display the outputs for. Once you click on next and then view, you will get the report in BOQ format. So here we have the concrete works required. Concrete for drop beams attached to slab, this is the quantity and the unit required. And towards the same, you have the superstructure formwork for drop beams attached to slab as this, 15 square meters. Because we have worked on the slabs earlier, so this is why it's displaying the concrete and the formwork for the solid slabs. This is only one reporting solution. We have more than 10 reporting solutions as we discussed earlier. Under reports again, you can display the project steel report and choose the level that you wish to display the outputs for. Next, and then view. Here it shows you the project steel report in all locations by all elements. So, in case you want to filter per project, per floor, and per element, so concrete for drop beams attached, you only want to display the items for the beams under ground floor, and you can even display and filter per dia. Once you click on apply, this will show you here the location, which is our project in the ground floor, and the item related to it is concrete for drop beams attached to slab. So in this report we have the diameters that we have used in our beam section: 8, 10, 12 and 16 mm dia, how many pieces are required, and the total length in meters of these steel bars, and the number of the standard 12 meter bars required, along with the weight in kilograms. The other reporting solutions that might be useful for the end users are the bar bending schedule. So you can click on the bar bending for check and approval purposes, and once more display the floor you wish to choose for the outputs to be displayed, and then view. So here we have the bar bending for check and approval purposes. This is for all parts and all levels. Once more, you can choose our project to filter, for example, ground floor, and then beams, apply. So here we have our project only for the ground floor, and the item is the concrete for drop beams attached to slab. So here we have the beam we have worked on, beam on axis B1. So this is a straight continuous bottom steel. It shows you the dia, the number of bars, and the shape and parameter dimensions. So if you go down, you will see the rest of these shapes and parameters of the steel bars used under B1 axis. So this is the edge top steel, the mid-span top steel, and the side bars. You can export and print these reports. So you can export it to PDF, and later on you can export it to Excel. As we said, under Reports tabs over here, you have more than 10 reporting solutions, of which you can display your outputs in different ways, according to your needs and requirements.